of the Roses, there was a battle for the crown of England, and there were the 6 sons of Edward the Conqueror, and the families of the 6 sons were all vying for the crown. And the crown first went to the first son, and then he quickly died, and then it went to his son, and one of the members of Edward's second son's family stole the crown, and then once you steal the crown, then it becomes very unstable. Anybody can kind of like get in there a little easier and steal the crown from you, that sort of thing. And so it fell to the time of King Richard III, who was he was born with some congenital problems. He was deformed, and he was not very good at much of anything, except he was a good warrior, because when he would get on a horse, his deformities would be a little bit neutralized. And so what happened was Richard's brother became the king, Edward the 7th, I think, 6th. And so now there was a temporary lull in the Wars of the Roses because the crown was on Percy's head, and peace was at hand. Now Richard was really kind of bored because he only was able to excel during war, and there was no war. And so he decides that what he really should do is he should figure out how to steal the crown for himself, even though his brother is the king, and his brother has 2 sons. So there's these people who are ahead of him in terms of the succession. So he realizes, well, if somehow or other I get my brother to conveniently die, and then I kill his 2 children, and I kill my other older brother, I become king. So in this speech, he's talking about the fact that, you know, now peace is at hand, and, you know, all their armor is hung up like monuments, like in a museum. He said monuments would be, you know, like museum pieces and everything, and he's quite bored. And this is largely historically true. The character did live. He was deformed. He had scoliosis and other things. And he did fight for the crown. Shakespeare was a little motivated to make him look really, really bad because Richard was vanquished by Henry Tudor. And the queen during Shakespeare's lifetime was Queen Elizabeth, who was a Tudor. So Shakespeare was really motivated to make this guy look extra bad. And so he takes some license and dramatizes it. So Richard is coming on stage, and it's a soliloquy, and he's bemoaning the fact that, you know, he's bored, there's peace and all of that. So this then is the soliloquy of Richard III. Now is the winter of our discontent made glorious summer by this son of York. In all the clouds it lowered upon our house, in the deep bosom of the ocean buried. Now are our brows bound with victorious wreaths, our bruised arms hung up for monuments, our stern alarums changed to merry meetings. Grim-visaged war has smoothed his wrinkled front, and now, instead of mounting barbed steeds to fright the souls of fearful adversaries, he capers nimbly in a lady's chamber to the lascivious pleasing of a lute. But I, that am not shaped for sportive tricks, nor made to court an amorous looking-glass, I that am rudely stamped and want love's majesty to strut before a wanton ambling nymph, I that am curtailed of this fair proportion, cheated of feature by dissembling nature, deformed, unfinished, sent before my time into this breathing world scarce half made up, and that so lamely and unfashionable, that dogs bark at me as I halt by them. Why, love forswore me in my mother's womb, and for I should not deal in her soft law, she did corrupt frail nature with some bribe, to shrink mine arm up like a withered shrub, to heap an envious mountain on my back, to shape my legs of an unequal size, to disproportion me in every part, like to a chaos, or an unlicked bare whelp that carries no impression like the dam. Why, I, in this weak piping time of peace, have no delight to pass away the time, unless to spy my shadow in the sun, and descant on mine own deformities. Then, since this earth affords no joy to me, but to command, to check, to o'erbear such as are a better person than myself, I'll make my heaven to dream upon the crown. And whiles I live to account this world but hell, until this misshaped trunk that bears this head be round impaled with the glorious crown. And yet I know not how to get the crown, for many lives stand between me and home, and I, like one lost in a thorny wood, that rends the thorns and is rent with the thorn, seeking a way and straying from the way, not knowing how to find the open air, torment myself to catch the English crown, and from that torment I will free myself, or hew my way out with a bloody axe. Why, I can smile and murder whiles I smile, and wet my cheeks with artificial tears, and frame my face for all occasions. I'll play the orator as well as Nestor, deceive more slyly than Ulysses could, and like a Sinon take another Troy. I can add colors to the chameleon, change shapes with Proteus for advantages, and set the murderous Machiavel to school. Can I do this and cannot get a crown? Were it further off, I'd pluck it down. Woo-hoo!